Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Proficiency Cambridge exam lesson, and this is a very exciting exam and a very interesting video, and I hope that you will enjoy if you are watching live and also if you are watching recorded. Remember, there are subtitles available during this video, so you can select the option for subtitles and you can read what I am saying if that helps you. This level is obviously superb, and for this reason I hopefully can go very fast in terms of speaking, and I can explain a lot of complicated structures and vocabulary and everything really related to this exam for you. During this class, please feel free to interact. Please feel free to leave a message in the Facebook chat, leave a comment, say hello, and I will be able to see your comments during the lesson here. So I'm just going to put a comment here. And crew ma'am, hello, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you will enjoy the lesson. So thank you for watching and let's begin. So again, thank you crew ma'am for your comment, and let's start. Last week I was sick, so there was no lesson last week, but the previous week we looked at exercise 1 from the use of English. Exercise 1 was the multiple choice question. Today we look at something different. We look at part 2. So this book is a very important book. I use this book all the time. It's called the Handbook for the Teachers, and it's available to download on the Cambridge website. It's the Proficiency Handbook for the Teachers, specific advice for the teachers to prepare you, the students, for the exam. It's a brilliant book. In my first lesson, in my video list, I explained the structure of this book. So today I'm just moving directly to the exercise. Last lesson we looked at part 1. The title was soap operas, if you remember. So today we're moving to part 2, and the title for today is My New Friend's a Robot. So my new friend is a robot, and this is the exercise typical from a newspaper, magazine, journal, or a book, and that's the best way to prepare for this exam. You should read as much as you can from different locations, different sources, and become familiar with the grammar, become familiar with the vocabulary, and specifically the combinations. The key part to this exam is combinations of grammar, such as prepositions, phrasal verbs, auxiliary verbs, pronouns, subject pronouns, object pronouns, possessive adjectives. A lot of basic grammar parts really make up this exam, in particular part 2. It's not really about vocabulary, no, it's more about small grammar issues, and that's very important to remember. Also, this proficiency exam is very similar to the advanced exam and very similar to the first certificate exam in terms of structure. The structure and the exercises are very, very similar, but the questions will be more difficult as you progress. So this exercise is the same in the advanced, it's the same in the first certificate, but the vocabulary and the answer will be more difficult because we are at proficiency level. So this is the plan for today. We have one exercise here. Also, I have another exercise that we can do after the first one if we have time, and that is the plan for today. So we have lots of content, and it's very exciting and very good because we should learn a lot of new things, and it's an opportunity for you to do this exercise yourself, to practice. First, if you want to contact me on social media, you can contact the Instagram page, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, or WhatsApp. All the information is here if you want to contact. My schedule, you are familiar with my schedule. It's on my Facebook cover, and you can watch any of my lessons during this week. If you are a business, if you are a company, if you are an organization or a charity and you want to support me, you want to advertise your company here, I can put your company information here, such as a special offer, and explain your company to everybody who watches these lessons. That's an option for you if you want. And of course, everything is free. At the moment, I'm doing everything for free and for public on Facebook Live. How will I make money? I really don't know yet. But if you want to support me, you are welcome to make a donation and a subscription to my bank account or directly via PayPal. All the information is on my Facebook post. So let's begin, and I hope I can help you with this particular exercise. So just to recap, the instruction for this exercise we can see at the top. It's better to read it together. So for questions 9 to 16, read the text below and think of the word which best fits each space. And I see my camera is a little flashy. My camera is very flashy, but we continue anyway. Okay, so for questions 9 to 16, read the text below and think of the word that best fits each space. Only one word. Use only one word for each space. So I don't know. Let me stop my camera and try to fix it because it was very bad, and maybe that's better. Good. So only one word in each space, and there is an example at the beginning, 0. Write your answers in capital letters in the exam. So the example is, but let's begin. My new friend is a robot. In fiction, robots have a personality, but reality is disappointingly different. Although sophisticated, space to assemble cars and assist during complex surgery, modern robots are dumb automatons. I don't know what that word is. Automatons, I don't know. Space of striking up relationships with their human operators. However, change is space, the horizon. Engineers argue that as robots begin to make space a bigger part of society, they will need a way to interact with humans. To this end, they will need artificial personalities. The big question is this: what does a synthetic companion need to have so that you want to engage it over a long period of time? Phones and computers have already shown the space to which people can develop relationships with inanimate electronic objects. Looking further space, engineers envisage robots helping around the house, integrating with the web to place supermarket orders using email, programming the robot with a human-like persona and space. The ability to learn its users' preferences will help the person feel at ease with it. Interaction with such a digital entity in this context is more natural than sitting with a mouse and keyboard. Tricky because of the context is very specific, but maybe already you have a couple of answers, maybe you have a couple of ideas for your answers. So you can read again if you want, and remember, in the exam you only have approximately 10-11 minutes really on average for all the parts to complete this exercise. So speed is very important, the velocity is very important. Maybe you can try to do this very quickly, but today we can take our time, we can discuss each sentence, and we can try to explain as much as possible about this exercise. So let's begin with the first paragraph. In fiction, robots have a personality, however, but reality is disappointingly different. Although sophisticated, something to assemble cars and assist during complex surgery, contrast, modern robots are dumb automatons. Personally, I have the answer, I think, for number 9, and I have an idea for number 10 as well. Because it's a phrasal verb. To strike up a relationship has the significance to create a relationship, to establish a relationship, to strike up a conversation, establish a conversation, create a conversation because it originates from a match. When you want to light a fire, you have the match and you need to strike the match. So strike up a match means to create the fire. So that's probably the origin of this expression. To strike up a relationship means to create a relationship with their human operators. So what do you think? Do you have any idea for number 9? Do you have any idea for number 10? And of course you can put your comment here. And okay, no comments at the moment, so it's my job to try and tell you the answer. So the adjective here is sophisticated, and really there's only one option in my opinion. It's related and similar to sufficiently, although sufficiently sophisticated, but sufficiently comes before the adjective. So we need a synonym for sufficiently, and there is one synonym that is perfect here for sufficiently, and the synonym is enough, because the position of enough is after the adjective. Are you hungry enough to have food? Are you happy enough with your project? The robots are sophisticated enough to assemble cars, so they are sufficiently sophisticated to assemble the cars and help assist during complex surgery. So I think that's the best answer for number 9. I would suggest enough. So let's put the answer here, number 9, enough. Okay, number 10 is tricky, but I think again there's only one possible answer for number 10. So a robot does not have the ability to create a relationship. A robot does not have the ability to create a relationship with the humans. No. So we're looking for something here related to ability in the negative. So if you have the ability, you are able, and you're also capable. So able and capable are two possibilities. So number 10, I think, could be unable. But typically with unable, we use the infinitive, unable to go, unable to meet, unable to have. Okay? Unable of, not really. However, there is another word that's more typical with of, and we say incapable of. That's more typical with the preposition of, and that's very, very important, the difference between unable and incapable. Unable is with the infinitive, unable to know, unable to meet, unable to have. Incapable is more typical with the preposition of. For this reason, I am more confident and happy with incapable. Of course, I might be wrong, I might make a mistake, but that's my first opinion and it's very comfortable for me. Let's continue to the next paragraph. Okay. However, change is the horizon. And for me, this is very easy. Hopefully for you, it's the same, because this is an expression with the horizon. The horizon obviously is the part where the land meets the sky. That's the horizon, something you can see. And there's a very famous, well-known expression with horizon. We use the preposition on the horizon. If something is on the horizon, this means it's coming and it will appear very soon. Something is on the horizon. Your holidays are on the horizon. Your holidays are going to happen very soon. Change is on the horizon. So that means change is going to happen very, very soon. So that's the best answer for sure. I don't think there's anything similar. I think that's the only option for number 11, because it's a typical expression and it's just a basic preposition. So already you can see the first word is grammatical, enough. The second word is a touch vocabulary, but it's more testing the negative. And the third word is just a preposition. So let's continue to number 12. Engineers, these are the professionals, argue or believe that as robots begin to make a bigger part of society, so this is tricky, but it's speaking about the distribution and the involvement, the percentage, and robots will increase their percentage of participation in society. So this is connected to the verb to make. And we're looking for a synonym of consist. So robots begin to consist of a bigger part of society. And yes, there is a synonym for consist related to the verb to make. I don't know if you know it, but it's a phrasal verb to substitute consist with the verb to make. And the preposition is make up. So Irish people make up the vast majority of people traveling to the football tournament, for example. So make up has the same significance as consist, and it fits very comfortably here. And I think it's the only option for number 12 here. So let's read again. Engineers argue that as robots begin to make up a bigger part of society, so as they begin to grow and occupy bigger parts of society, so they will need to interact with humans. For me, it's the only option that fits very, very well. Maybe you have a different answer. Again, you can see it's just a simple preposition. It's nothing more complicated. It's not advanced, peculiar vocabulary. No, it's grammatical, and specifically here, it's a phrasal verb. Next. Okay, so to this end is a difficult expression, and that basically means to complete this objective. That's the translation. To this end means to complete this objective. In relation to this objective, they will need artificial personalities. So robots will need artificial personalities. The big question is this: what does a synthetic companion, a false, fake friend, need to have so that, that's very important, so it's a consequence. What does a fake synthetic companion need to have in order for you to engage, so that the consequence you want to engage? And this again is grammatical. The verb to engage is this activity to engage. For example, the telephone is engaged. Somebody is speaking on the telephone already. The toilet is engaged. You cannot enter the toilet because somebody is using the toilet. The toilet is engaged. The telephone is engaged. You and your partner are engaged before you marry. You promise and you are involved with that person and nobody else. So you are engaged to this person. This means you're going to marry this person in the future. The other possibility is to engage in activity, to engage in conversation. This means to partake and to participate. However, the preposition in is not typical here, because a person, a human, engages with a robot. So very, very comfortably, the preposition with is also typical with engage. You engage with this person in terms of conversation, in terms of maybe activity. So engage in and engage with. But here it's specifically the robot and the human. So let's read again. The big question is this: what does a synthetic companion need to have so that you want to engage with it? You want to interact with it. You want to interact is the best synonym over a long period of time. So for me, 13 is again grammatical, prepositional, very simple it looks, but that's the correct answer I would suggest. That's number 13. Let's continue. Phones and computers have already shown the something to which people, so number 14 is tricky, but there is an expression in English with the something to which. Yes, there is a possible expression here, the something to which, and there's only one possible answer. I don't know if you have any idea. know if you see anything, but that's fine. If you want to put your answer. For example, tomorrow there is a storm coming. So tomorrow there's a big storm, a lot of wind, a lot of rain, very dangerous. So I will not know the damage until the storm arrives. So I will not know the extent of the damage. The key word here is the extent. It's like the level. I don't know the extent of the damage. I don't know the level of the damage. So this is the answer here. The extent to which is a typical combination. It's very, very difficult, very proficient, but it's definitely the only possibility. And phones and computers have already shown the level to which people can develop relationships with electronic objects. So it's a synonym for level, and extent is more comfortable, but it would be similar to the level. Okay, so number 14 is the extent to which. Number 15, we continue. And this is probably easier in my opinion. So into the future, you look into the future. Looking further into the future is more or less the same, but there's only one possible word, not into the future. So only one word, we say looking further ahead. Okay, looking further ahead means looking more into the future, looking into the predictions, forecast. So that's definitely the correct answer, I would suggest. So looking further ahead, I think, is the answer. And let me just write that there so you can see it. Looking further ahead. To next week, to next weekend, to the future, looking further ahead is very, very comfortable in that sentence. Engineers envisage, very difficult vocabulary, and it's similar to predict or forecast. Engineers forecast, engineers predict. Robots helping around the house with the work, cleaning, washing, helping around the house, building, constructing, integrating with the web, so interacting, engaging, participating with the internet to place an order. And this means to make your order with the supermarket using email. Programming the robot with a human-like persona, so developing the settings of the robot, programming the robot with a human-like is the adjective. It's obviously like a human, but one adjective, human-like. Persona means character, and something the ability to learn its users' preferences will help the person feel at ease with it. Okay, so let's read that sentence again. Programming the robot with a human-like persona and something the ability to learn its users' preferences will help the person feel at ease. This is a very important expression. To feel at ease means to feel comfortable, to feel very calm, to feel very easy with something. If you feel at ease, this means you feel very calm, you feel very relaxed. So the key part here is the ability. And it's about programming and the settings. So the scientist will program, and the scientist will enable. So basically the synonym here we need is enable it with ability, but enable does not fit. So it's very simple, and I would suggest the answer, in my opinion, I don't know if you have an idea. If you have an idea, put your comment. But for me, it's simply give it the ability. For example, coffee gives me the ability to stay awake. Coffee gives me the ability to write my essay. Okay, so for me, it's giving the robot the ability to learn the preferences. For me, it's the only option, number 16, giving it. Okay, and let's continue with that. And next, I think that's everything actually. That's all the answers. So that's it. Interacting with such a digital entity, very difficult vocabulary, such as a business is an entity, a group, or an organization, in this context is more natural than sitting with a mouse and a keyboard. Okay, so they are my answers, and I'm pretty confident, pretty happy with my answers. I don't know if you disagree. It's possible you have different answers, and that is the test. Of course, I might have some errors, so now we check the answers. Okay, and this book obviously tells us the answers here. Okay, so we are on number 2. First, if you have a question, please put your question here. I don't see anything at the moment, so that's no problem. We'll continue, but remember, again, you're welcome to leave a comment or to interact when you want. So here are the answers. Number 9 is enough. Yes. Number 10, incapable. Number 11, on. 12, up. 13, with. 14, extent or degree. And number 15, ahead or looking further forward. And number 16, given. I'm very happy because it was all logical. Yes, your level of vocabulary needs to be good. You need to be well read. You need to have a lot of experience reading. But I think if you are familiar with reading in English, if you have a lot of experience reading in English, I think you will be in a good situation to finish this exercise, to complete this exercise. So that's excellent and very good activity, very good exercise. Next week, we move to part 3. Okay, so this is just part 2. Last week we did part 1, and next week we move to part 3. And just to show you what part 3 is, you can see here on the right, we have an article and we have a word on the right. It's necessary to change the word to the correct form for the sentence, and that's part 3. But today we continue with part 2, and we have another exercise here to practice part 2. So very, very interesting, and more activities. It's very important to practice. It's very important to try, and hopefully this video can help you with this practice. First, maybe you want to read this yourself and to try this exercise yourself. So now is the opportunity to press pause and to read this text yourself. So I'll give you an opportunity, and there's the second paragraph. And it's very important and good for you to try this yourself. So Schultz, I think, is a German name, but I had a friend also in America with this name as well. So Charles Schultz, I think, is the pronunciation, and we will learn about this person here. The first option is other. So 0 is other, we can see. And let's read in total first before we try the exercise. The cartoonist Charles Schultz created the daily lives of Charlie Brown, Snoopy, Lucy, and the other inhabitants of the Peanuts strip. Schultz, something to his friends as Sparky, drew the daily strip for almost 50 years. Something distinctively American culture, nothing to hamper its universal success. It was said to have 355 million readers in 75 countries, and something Schultz very rich. Something an income eventually of perhaps 20 million a year. There are Peanuts enthusiasts, something over the world, and no American politician, something dream of saying he did not much like the strip. Okay, we continue. Schultz insisted he had something systemized psychological or philosophical insights, but he displayed unflaggingly sharp observation and a fairly gentle, if sometimes downbeat, humour. He was given something anxiety and low spirits, and something was an underlying sadness in his stories. Something bittersweet quality that clearly fascinated many of his fans. In the 1950s, the strip had a vogue following, space, intellectuals, but Schultz was happy to point, space, that he himself had flunked algebra, Latin, English, and physics at school. When someone space him an existentialist, he had to ask space the word meant. Okay, so in this text, we can see incredible vocabulary, very important vocabulary. So let's begin little by little to explain the vocabulary and to try and find the correct answers. I think this is a little more difficult than the previous exercise, in my opinion, but that is perfect for you because it's necessary to push yourself and to try and do the difficult tasks. So, cartoon is the object, and the person is a cartoonist, like an artist. It's the person, it's the suffix to represent a professional. So, a cartoonist is Charles Schulz. That's his profession, to draw cartoons. Created the daily lives at proficiency level. You don't need to know, you don't need to be told the difference between one life with the F and plural lives of Charlie Brown, Snoopy, Lucy, and other inhabitants. Inhabitant is a person who lives in a place, and here it's plural, so we have other inhabitants of the Peanuts strip. A strip is flexible, and for a cartoon, we have a strip. When you have one box, second box, third box in a line, this is a strip of cartoons, and that's the specific vocabulary used here for the cartoons. Schultz, something to his friends as Sparky. So Sparky is tricky because spark, when you have two stones and you rub two stones, you have a spark. When there is romance and two people have a good relationship, we say sparks are flying. People are feeling romantic and in love when sparks are flying. A spark is an informal name for an electrician. If you are a professional electrician, informally we say you are a spark because you work with electrics. So Sparky in this case is a nickname. So the friends call him Sparky, but his real name is Schultz. So in that context, there's only one possible answer for number one, because the key here is as, and normally with the verb known, to know, we say known as. Okay, so that is a very typical structure. We would say in English very frequently known as, and this basically means his friends called him Sparky. His friends did not call him Schultz. The friends called him Sparky. So that's a typical combination. Known as for number one, I would suggest, is the first answer. Okay, number two, let's look at this. Drew. So this is irregular verb, draw, drew, the daily strip for almost 50 years. Now, this is difficult for me. I'm a little stuck here. Distinctively American culture. Okay, so I think I have the answer. There's a fantastic verb here, to hamper, and this means to limit or to stop or to prevent. For example, my muscle, I have an injury in my muscle and this injury is hampering my movement. So to hamper means to restrict or to prevent, very similar to restrict. So if something is hampering you, something is restricting you and stopping you and preventing you from doing something, it's a brilliant verb. And the second context is completely different. At Christmas, you have a hamper. A hamper is a big basket of food, gifts, presents. It's a big hamper. But the verb to hamper is very important, meaning to restrict somebody. Also, I think my dog maybe will move very soon, so I might have to take a little break very soon. So, culture, American culture, the magazine, the comic was distinctively, clearly American culture. And it was successful. So the culture, the American culture, did not affect the success. That's my interpretation of the sentence. So I think it's very simple. Number two, the. So number two, I would suggest, is very, very simple, the. And you can see again, we have very basic words as the answer. And so the distinctively American culture in the past did nothing to restrict. So for me, number three is did nothing in the past to hamper. So there was no impact negative of the success in relation to the American culture of this cartoon. So for me, number 3 is did. Very, very clearly, just did. Obviously in a small letter, but I don't think it matters too much because all your answers are capital letters in the exam. Next sentence. It was said to have 355 million readers in 75 countries, and it's something Schultz very rich. This is very easy for me because there's a structure here with rich, and the context is successful. So obviously Schultz received a lot of money. Schultz generated a lot of money. So the cartoon made him rich. So to make you rich, to make him rich is the structure. And in here, it's the past. It made Schultz very rich. For me, it's the only option that's possible for number 4. Maybe you have a different idea. Number 5, an income eventually of perhaps. So number 5 is flexible because it could be receiving an income, making an income, earning an income, generating an income. So for me, number 5 is very, very flexible. I have 4 or 5 possible answers for number 5. Making an income eventually of perhaps something, generating an income, earning an income. Let's stick with number 5, earning. I suggest number 5 is probably earning an income, and that would be just maybe the most comfortable and appropriate for all the options. But I think it's very flexible. But probably earning an income, or making an income. But let's check the final answer soon. I could have an error there for sure. There are Peanuts enthusiasts. So Peanuts is the name of the cartoon. If you are an enthusiast, you are very enthusiastic about something. So in this situation, there's people who are big fans, big supporters of this cartoon. Over the world, this is very simple for me as well. And we can say around the world. You can say worldwide. You can say in every part of the world. But with this structure, we normally say all over the world. That's the typical structure, all over the world. Okay, so I would suggest that is the correct answer, and number 6 would just be all over the world. Number 7, and no American politician dream of saying he did not much like the strip. So every politician said they liked the strip, the cartoon, because it was so popular. So because of the popularity, the politician would never think of saying, would never dream. I think it's just a conditional here, would hypothetically. So no American politician would dream of. I think it's just a conditional. Would dream of. I would never dream of telling you this. I would never dream of changing your opinion. So number 7, I think, is just would. And again, it's very basic parts of English, and people get very confused because they expect more complicated answers. But no, it's tricky. But sometimes simplicity is important, even in a proficiency exam. Number 8, Schultz insisted he had systemized psychological or philosophical insight. So the key word here is an insight. Normally we say give an insight into. That's a typical structure. Give me an insight into, but it's not applicable here. So he insisted he had no, I think it's just negative. He had no psychological insight or no philosophical insight. It was just very simple. So he insisted it was very simple. Therefore, it was not complicated. Therefore, no psychological insight or no philosophical insight. So I think it's just a negative no. And maybe you have a different opinion. Maybe you are right. But for me, that seems to be the most obvious answer at the moment. But he displayed unflaggingly sharp observation. That's very difficult vocabulary. If you are unflagging, this means you are constant. You are very regular, you're very constant, you're unflagging. Your spirit is unflagging, because to flag is to be a little bit weak and soft. So if you're unflagging, you're very straight and very strong. And that's the context here. So his observation was always very clear and very strong. And fairly means quite, pretty, quite, gentle. Rather, pretty, quite. We have three words to say the same thing. Fairly, pretty, quite, rather, gentle, quite gentle. If sometimes downbeat, if your humor is downbeat, it's almost pessimistic. Upbeat is optimistic, positive. Downbeat is negative and sad. Number 9 is very, very, very fluent, and it's difficult. I don't expect anybody really to have number 9, but there is a structure in English. If you are given something, this means you suffer it occasionally. You suffer something. So the structure is given to. If you're given to anxiety, this means that you occasionally suffer from anxiety. And that's the structure we have here, given to. So I think the answer for number 9 was given to. And I think number 9 is the most difficult we have seen until now. So I expect nobody really to have, or maybe even to understand, number 9. For example, we use this in the context of a person who is normally saying dramatic things or exaggerating. So you are given to exaggeration. This means that you normally exaggerate a story. You frequently exaggerate the story. So you are given to exaggeration. It's very difficult, but that's the very fluent expression in number 9. So he was likely to suffer anxiety and low spirits, and something was an underlying sadness of his stories. Underlying means something that's in the position under the public persona. So people see him very successful, very rich, but lying under, the position under, is the truth or the real person. And the anxiety and the depression was under his stories. And I think you can see it as well in the story. I expect you can see this sadness, but it's not the most dominant topic. It's just maybe a sub theme. But it's very interesting English, underlying sadness in the stories. So the verb is to be, and very simply, grammatically, we need a subject. It's very simple. We need a subject before the verb to be. I think the subject could be it, this, that. So I would suggest 3 possible subjects: this, that, or it. I would suggest maybe this. So I could be wrong, of course. I'm taking a risk, but I would suggest this, that, or maybe even which. Not which, because we have and, so it's not which. Maybe we'll leave it for the moment, but I think a little less about which. Number 11, bittersweet quality, that clearly fascinated many of his fans. So fascinated is obviously people are very interested. So this sentence is a little difficult. He was given to anxiety and low spirits, and this was an underlying sadness in his stories, with bittersweet quality that clearly, maybe again, simple, this bittersweet quality, or it's very difficult, but I just would suggest maybe 11 is just simply this. And I'm sure I'm missing something because maybe my concentration is dropping a little, just a little, because it's a second exercise, and this can happen in an exam. You can feel a little tired, and I don't see clearly number 11. Okay, let's continue to the next sentence because the previous sentence was very long. In the 1950s, the strip had a vogue following. This means sort of cool. Intellectuals are the group of people, and there's only one possible answer for number 12. Well, actually 2. I would suggest maybe with. It had a following with intellectuals, but there's a better word that we use in this situation, very similar to with. And what do you think? I don't know if you have an idea for number 12. For me, it would be among. Okay, and that fits very, very well. It had a very vogue, a cool following with intellectuals, but among, in between, in with the intellectuals. Okay, next one. But Schultz was happy to point, and this is very easy because it's a phrasal verb. If you identify something, you point, But when you identify something in your comment, you point out. So if you point something out, you identify it, but you are focusing on it. So I think this is the only answer for number 13, to point out. So he was happy to point out, to identify that he himself had flunked. That's a difficult word, and it's very important. To flunk an exam, to flunk a subject, means to fail. To fail an exam, to fail a project, to fail algebra. So in this case, he failed algebra in school, he failed Latin, he failed English and physics. He completely failed, to flunk. Very, very good vocabulary. The verb to flunk means to fail an exam. Okay, so number 13 is point out, to indicate, to highlight, to say. And finally, 14 and 15, when someone, him, an existentialist, so this is a person, an existentialist, and somebody called him an existentialist or labeled him. So I think there's only two possibilities. You call somebody an existentialist, you say this person is an existentialist. So I think called or maybe labeled him an existentialist. I think that's the only options. He had to ask what the word meant because he did not understand the significance of the word. So he had to ask what the word meant. Okay, so now let's check the answer. And we could have mistakes, but the answers are on page 137. Okay, so let me check the answers on 137. We need to tools, go to page 127, I think it was. And we have, maybe it was my mistake, maybe it's not 127. I think I made a mistake. Let me check again. Oh my God, 137. How did I get that wrong? 137. Okay, so here we can see Charles Schulz. And we have the explanation here. So if you want to take time, you can see exactly why each sentence, each answer is the reason, and they give an explanation. But I think I've explained more or less why, but this might be a different variation. And number one is known. Okay, and that's correct. Number two is not the. It's the possessive adjective, it's. Number three is did. Number four is made. Okay, number five, I'm interested. Number five, I think, is with. So wrong again. Number six is all. Number seven is would. Number eight is no. Number nine is to. Number 10 is there. So I was close, but not correct. And number 11 is a. So I have a lot of mistakes. Number 12 is among. 13 is out. 14 is called. And 15 is what. Very, very interesting. So let me go back to the page, and the exercise is on page 19. And let me just find this page here. And again, we have Charles Schulz. So let's read with the options again. Number one is known to his friend as. Number two is it's distinctively. Okay. So number two is it's, possessive adjective. Very, very similar. Okay. But it's wrong. My answer is wrong, but I'm not far from the answer. So it's the possession, the culture, the distinctively American culture is the possession of the book, of the comic. Number five, with. Okay, very simple. Very, very simple, but interesting. I'm not happy. Number six is everything correct, except now the next one is number 10, there. There was an underlying, okay. Again, very close, very, very close. And you can see in the previous page, they give the reason why, but I will not disagree, but I know it's very similar answers. Number 11 is a bittersweet quality. So quality is the noun, and again we need some type of determiner, and in this case it's the indefinite article. A bittersweet quality, and that's it. Okay, good. So it's very, very good practice, and maybe you can, I don't know if you have any comments to make or anything to say. And yes, crew, thank you for your comments. And I had the same idea as you, earning. Can you use around, all around the world? Yes, I think that was possible. So let me check again, because I think I had, yeah, all over the world is the correct answer. I think number 6 is, oh, yeah, very good. So very, very interesting. Okay, I think that's all the comments on the Facebook page. Yeah, sorry, I'll just bring, and let me close that properly. So that's it. That is 2 exercises from the exam. Now, this book is very, very good. Remember, this is the handbook, because in this book, it explains specifically what is part 2, okay? And it tells you how to prepare specifically the best preparation for the Cambridge exams proficiency for part 1 or part 2. So let me read this just very quickly for part 2 to give you the official advice from Cambridge in relation to preparation for this exam and this part. Students should treat the open close as they would any reading text. Look at the title and the text before trying to answer the question. So get a good idea for the full story. This will help you understand what the text is about and make it easier for them to fill the gaps. Emphasize that they should always keep in mind the meaning of the whole text when doing the task. Okay. Students should always read the complete sentence that contains the gap before deciding on their answer. So read the full sentence. You should always check for possible negatives, conditionals, or other structures that might put forward the opposite point of view. That's true. So sometimes it's the negative and sometimes it's the conditional. Okay, so the word that you write must agree with the subject. Okay, so if it's plural, masculine, feminine, make sure that your words agree with the gender of the word. Student needs to pay particular attention to the words before and after the gap. So yes, there's a particular word before and a particular word after the gap, because it may be an expression and you just need one missing word. Only one word. So there's only one word in each gap, nothing more, and there's no contraction. Okay. And if you're not sure, leave it blank and continue and maybe return at the end. When you check their work at the end, you should read the whole text again. This may give them the clue that they need to fill the gap they're not sure of. So that's just another piece of advice. Finally, in preparation in your class, encourage you to note down and learn words and expressions in the context, especially grammatical patterns and phrases. And this is what I say, when you prepare, you need to read and be familiar with grammatical patterns and phrases. Great, and that's what they say. Okay, brilliant. So that's it. Thank you so much for today's lesson. Thank you for participating. Thank you for watching, and you can share this video with people preparing for the exam. And I hope it will benefit everybody, because practice. And if you want to contact me on social media, you can contact me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, and WhatsApp as well. If you want, all the information is here. Remember, my schedule this week is here, and that's on my Facebook page as well. You can see all my schedule and timetable. And today we continue with accents from around the world. Probably today we continue with the Liverpool accent. And if you are a company, if you are a business, if you are an organization and you want to support me and sponsor my lesson, you can put your company here and I can explain to everybody your business, and that will be very good to support me as well. Everything is free. My lessons are free, but I need support. So if you want to donate and support me, you can make a transfer with my bank, and the bank details are here. Whatever you want, and also PayPal as well. All the information is on my Facebook page if you want to support me and make a donation. That would be very, very helpful. And that's it. So thank you, everybody. And hello, Nicouch. And you're very welcome, crew ma'am. So thank you for watching. And I'll just finish here and say thank you, everybody, if my computer works. And have a good afternoon. And hopefully see you soon in the next lessons. So thank you so much. Have a good day. And hopefully talk to you soon.